Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Jermaine Morgan TV. As you know, this is a two-part lesson that we started on last week, and we were dealing with placement and feel. On this particular lesson, I want to deal more so with the feel. And if you hadn't checked out last week's lesson, please go back and check it out. We're giving some good key points about dealing with the placement and how to basically build the song and that type of thing. So we're going to jump right into the lesson. One of the things we wanted to deal with in this lesson was the feel. Here, I don't know, some of you may not have ever heard anybody talking about feel, but feel pretty much refers to what it sounds like, how you make the song feel as a bass player. Does the song feel like it's rushing when you're playing? Does it feel good? And when you deal with a lot of gospel and soul music, even R&B, that kind of a lot of the different genres, it's more about the feel of the music. How does it feel? Even in some jazz, I mean, it goes all across the board. I guess you can't really write it off to a specific genre, because a lot of the different genres deal with the feel of the music, and it's not necessarily from an emotional standpoint, but it's more so the grooving aspect of it. Like, you know, when you hear this song, like, we're going to go back to the same backing track that we did on last week's lesson. We're dealing with the same thing. So this has a real old school kind of feel to it. So my approach to it, I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing rhythmically on the bass feels as good as the track. So you can hear that groove, and one of the first things I want to deal with as it relates to feel is paying attention to what your right hand is doing. And a good way to start getting into that, I would encourage you right off the bat to start listening to more good drummers. Even going back to like the 70s music, a lot of that soul music, a lot of the funk and those eras of music. If you go back and study some of these drummers and just kind of listen to how they approach the song, like for instance, the first thing if I didn't know this track, the first thing I would start listening for would be the kick drum pattern to know how to build my bass line off of it. Obviously, I'm listening to the progression of the song and where the song is going. So right off bat, I'm gonna start listening to the kick drum. Right there, that much just told me the rhythm that I need to be playing, or the rhythm I need to be basing my groove off of. It's not rule of thumb that you always follow the kick pattern, but in most music, you're gonna be pretty close. The bass and the kick drum is pretty much married together. So if you're not doing exactly what the kick drum is doing, you're doing some type of variation of it. So it's very important as a bass player, for feel's sake, you want to pay attention to what that kick drum is doing. And then, you know, the snare is hitting on the 2 and the 4, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, the snare is hitting on the 4. But it's understood that, you know, there's a 2 and a 4 in the beat, because you have a 1, 2. It's in 4/4, so the way that you count it, obviously there's a 2, 4 in the beat. And so we want to make sure that we establish that groove based off the drum pattern that's going on. So let's start it again. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of finding my way around, and if you notice, we're still dealing with feel where I'm choosing to put my licks, and it's not even really considered licks, I would say, more so the feels and the little extra stuff that I'm putting in the song. I'm finding places in between the groove to put them in. That way I don't sacrifice the feel and the groove of the song for a lick or for a feel. So demonstrate again. You're gonna hear me playing a little more feels, but I'm gonna be real careful about where I place my feels. Foundation has to stay. So you can kind of hear what I'm doing. I'm getting in and out of the groove, but I'm never losing the original intent of the groove. And the thing as a bass player, getting back to the whole feel thing, the thing is, as a bass player, you can sometimes have free reins as the song builds. We talked about that in the last lesson when we were talking about the placement and that kind of thing. As the song builds, finding your spaces and that kind of thing, and picking your spots wisely. And because I know some people are going to ask me, and I've got some questions via email and that type of thing, even comments on the videos. People want to know what I'm doing with my right hand when I'm playing these different feels or when I'm playing these different grooves. As I said in the beginning of the lesson, learning to mimic the drummer as much as possible without playing the drums on your bass. Here I got some ghost note stuff that's going on. This is the original groove with no ghost notes. So if you want to fill it up just to add a little bit more rhythmic expression to it, you can play the same groove, but now you can add the 2 and the 4 by tapping with your right hand. 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And the other thing that I'm doing is like a double, boom, 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 boom. You know, and you have to kind of use that in moderation so that you don't get in the way of the drummer. Finding your place and not being too aggressive with your ghost notes. And it's almost, you're kind of thinking of percussion. It's like I'm hearing these other rhythms in my head, so I'm mimicking the rhythms here in my right hand. And I'll slow that down so you can hear it better. You're actually hearing is me muting with my left hand when I'm not playing notes over there. So we're going. All of that is helping me to kind of develop my feel a lot better. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't do that, your playing is not feeling good. That's not what I mean at all. It's just really, in a nutshell, your feel is kind of being rhythmically aware of what's going on around you and making the song feel good. Even understanding, like listening to, I'd suggest listening to more music, understanding the genre in which you're playing, because in some genres the bass pushes. It's almost like the bass seems like it's rushing but the drummer is laying back, or the drummer might be locking to the grid and you push just a little bit. Or in other more neo soul kind of genres, the bass might be a little more laid back, and so it's a little bit behind the grid. And so you just kind of got to figure out which genre you're playing and know what's the best fit, and that comes from just studying those genres, listening to more music. There's really no shortcuts in doing it. It's just really listening to more music and understanding how the function of your instrument is in that music, and listening to the other instruments, not only listening to your bass, because that's going to open you up. Listening to the drums is going to open you up more rhythmically, and you're going to start thinking more rhythmically. When you listen to like the keyboards and the guitars and all that kind of stuff, you're going to start thinking more chordal. When you're hearing the saxophone and even listening to the vocalist more, you'll start thinking more melodic. And these are things that are all necessary in kind of helping you become a more well-rounded player, because at the end of the day, as a bass player, you want to know everybody's part. It's not required that you know everybody's part, but it does help as a bass player. I play multiple instruments, so and I produce as well. So when I'm writing a song or producing a song, I kind of know how to play the song and stay out of the way for the most part, and even in a live situation, how to get out of the way of other players. And it took me years to develop that, but it came from constantly listening to what was going on around me, what was going on, and what the other band members and that type of thing were doing around me. And so I just encourage you guys to just listen to your surroundings and study more music, listen to as much music as you can, and take notes from this music. Don't just listen to the bass, listen to everything. Pay attention to the bass, but listen to everything and see what you can adjust. I suggest you start working on that with your playing each week. Start, evaluating your playing, record yourself, listen to what you're doing, and put it up against a music that's similar to your genre, and make little liner notes about things. Okay, they're doing this and I'm not doing this. Not comparing yourself to players, but what you want to do is be able to make a good evaluation of where you are, so you know what to work on yourself as a player. And these things should help you improve as a bass player. I hope these tips have been helpful to you. If you would, please go visit JermaineMorgan.net. If you are new, I got a reward for you subscribers. So please check it out. Please subscribe and hit this subscribe button as well on my YouTube channel, so you don't miss any of these bass tips that I'm giving you. And remember, I'm not sure if I said it in the last lesson, but this backing track, as well as all the other backing tracks you've heard in these bass tips in Jermaine Morgan TV, the backing tracks are available on the website as well. So head on over there, and I'll see you guys on next week. Take care. Peace.